Good good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome to another edition of Doctor to Doctor in the chat room. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Shaw, and I am so happy to meet you back here again another Saturday to share this hour with me as we talk about relevant topics that impact our communities and our world. Um, Today is no different. I have a wonderful guest who you will hear from in just a little bit. And we are going to talk about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is our children, particularly at-risk children. But before we get there, as I always do, I want to just remind you guys that we are still in a pandemic, and you have to keep wearing those masks. Double up on those masks if you can, if you're able to do that, and you don't have any health issues that would prevent you from doing that. Physically distance yourselves, and do not congregate in large crowds unless it's absolutely necessary. And just be safe, folks. I think we're about on full rollout of the vaccine. So, I'd like to encourage everyone to get vaccinated. As we always say, we cannot mandate that, or make that a mandate for anyone, but please, if you can, get vaccinated and try to protect yourself as well as others, and so that we can get back to some sense of normalcy, and to some sense of hanging out with our families and seeing our friends and just enjoying life. um, as I said earlier, we're going to talk about our children today, our kids that are at risk in particular. As we know, every child deserves an opportunity to succeed in life, and a component of that success comes from how we develop our children. It's so important that we prepare them and equip them for meeting the challenges of life, the challenges of adulthood, so that they can just live to their fullest potential. There are so many wonderful organizations around the world that work with our children and develop our children. And we know that those efforts are sorely, sorely needed because statistics show that 24% of the US population are individuals that are under the age of 17. And nearly 40% of that particular population live in low-income families. So that means that they are at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. Those statistics for me are really alarming. And children from low-income families are more likely to have sex before the age of 16. They're more likely to become gang affiliated. They're more likely to become violent in some way or the other. They're more likely to steal. They're more likely to run away from home. They're more likely to drop out of school. And 12% of the high school dropouts are unemployed. And they're more than 8 times likely to commit crimes or serve time in prison. So children from low-income families are more likely to start school with limited language skills, and they have less parental support with their homework. And they deal with more emotional and social problems that interfere with their learning. We know that many of these kids go to school hungry. They go to school having left traumatizing environments. Students show that if we are able, not students, but studies rather, show that if we are able to increase the current US graduation rate to 90%, an additional 219,000 or more students will receive their diplomas each year. So only 1 in 10 of the youth that are from low-income families go on to graduate from a 4-year college, compared to 28% of youth that are from middle-income families and 50% of youth that are from high-income families. And we do know that college is not necessary. I always encourage our young folks, look, get a skill. Those are some of those jobs are high paying jobs, and people have gone on to be very successful in just a vocation. Students who live in communities with high levels of poverty are 4 times more likely to be chronically absent from school. And the reasons for their absences include things like unstable housing, unreliable transportation, a lack of access to health care. Again, sometimes it's because they don't have clothing. They haven't been able to eat. Um, Studies also show that children raised in poverty are more likely to lack the basics of food, clothing, adequate housing, and healthcare. But then nearly 45% of children living in poverty are overweight or obese, compared to 22% of children living in households with incomes 4 times the poverty level. 7% of young women from low-income families have a child by the age 18, compared to only 1% of high-income levels. The power of youth development. There are positive outcomes to youth development. We empower our kids to get a skill, social skills, improve their behaviors. We increase their academic achievement, their self-esteem, and just an overall increased self-efficacy with our children when they are developed properly. Young people who are surrounded by a variety of opportunities for positive encounters engage in less risky behaviors and ultimately show evidence of higher rates of successful transitions into adulthood. Research definitely shows that youth who have sufficient support from their families, their schools, and communities develop the assets necessary to do well in life. So we want to salute all the organizations and individuals and volunteers that provide support for our youth development around the world, and who are improving the lives of children right now so that they can be better in their future. And my guest today is a part of this, plays a part in developing our youth in the organization that he works with. And I am so very happy to have him here with me today. Mr. Joe Jordan, I am so happy to have you with me today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the invitation to join you this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, my children, I call them my children. They're very important to me, and particularly at-risk children. And I know that that is the work that you do. That has been an intricate part of your career and your life. But I want you to tell the audience who Joe Jordan is. Let's start there. Let's start there. And then I want to talk about how Joe Jordan got to be right here today.
Oh, well, it's Joe Jordan's a pretty simple person. I just have a philosophy that we have a window of opportunity that we can make a difference before God calls us home.
Mm,
And I try to take advantage of that every day. I was born into this amazing family, 9 siblings, 9 older siblings, incredible parents that really valued people, faith-based family. My mom was probably the most faith-based person I've ever met. I never forget, every night she would get on her knees and pray out loud and call each of our names out. And I just feel that even today I'm living on her prayers. And so I'm just a person that's trying to help and move the needle while I can.
yeah.
I think we all have a responsibility to kind of move the needle in making life better for others, and that's how you become. That's how you live a life of significance.
Hmm. So, just give me a little bit about just give me a little Joe Jordan bio.
Yeah, so again, I'm born family of 10, youngest of 10. I grew up very, very, very poor. Lived in the hood most of my childhood years, but it didn't feel like the hood because we had these extended families and friends. I was an athlete, had the coaches relationships, and so I wouldn't change a thing the way in which I grew up. Again, I was really blessed with incredible siblings. I have six older brothers and also three older sisters who are incredible human beings. Um, During my life, I experienced a wide variety of people, which I think serves me well today. When I was from K to sixth grade, I was predominantly black school, and then they started busing, and they shipped me 16 miles away from my home into this affluent area, and we became the minorities of the population in school, and so that forced me to get along and compete at a different level because I was very prideful young man. I was not gonna be labeled and I was not gonna be outperformed in the classroom. So I competed at a high level, and I'm glad I had that experience because I'm not sure if I would have that edge that I have today if it wasn't for that experience. But it also taught me how to get along with people, how to deal with people um, from different classes, races, ethnicities. It really was a valued experience, and I look back on that. I contribute that to my ability to really relate to anybody from the mayor down to the guy who's homeless on the street, and it served me well in my current profession.
Amazing. Let's talk about that, your current profession. That's where I'm getting to. So tell us where you are now.
Right now, I serve as the president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Indiana, which is quite a privilege for me. I'm honored to be associated with such an amazing organization in this whole National Boys and Girls Club movement. I consider it a pleasure. I consider a privilege to be in the space that I'm in.
So I'm kind of still stuck in the Black history train of
Mhm.
thought. I'd love to know if you've experienced any first in your career. Have you experienced any first? If so, tell us about those.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of being first a number of times, but my most significant first is really two things: one in the athletic arena, and also in the current arena that I'm in now. Athletically, um, basketball was my thing, and I had a brother who went to NBA and played several years there. But I wasn't good enough to go to NBA, but but it allowed me to go to college, and so I played small college basketball, and I led the nation in assists. And still, the record still holds today. And so that was a big part of my life. Basketball, athletics was a big part of my life. It kept me on the straight and narrow from
Yeah.
drugs, that type of thing. And then first, I'm the first African American CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Fortwayne and Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Indiana.
So I believe I see you as a change agent, and I don't say that just because of what you do with the youth that you serve. But I say it because in talking to you, having sidebar conversations with you, and just the mindset that you have, um, what keeps you there in that mindset of just prompting change?
Well, thank you for calling me a change agent. I just look at myself as somebody that wants to contribute to others' lives. So sometimes we look at success and success is not far enough to me. I think a lot of us are successful, but success is all about what you gain. But significance is about what you give others and how you give yourself to others.
Mhm.
And so I just look for opportunities, ways which I can contribute to the quality of life of others, particularly kids, particularly at-risk families. I'm really focused on that, and I'm always looking for opportunities to really build other people up, and that's just who I become over the years, and that's what my faith tells me I should be about every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's very I'm full of compassion. I see people. I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't let people come past me without seeing them, without acknowledging them,
Wow.
honoring them. And so that's just who I am. And so as a result of that, I live my day I live my life every day in a compassionate mindset. And so that has helped me move the needle forward on a lot of issues, a lot of situations I have in our current city.
Mm-hmm. So would you say your ministry is definitely servitude?
Yes, for sure. That's my biggest asset. I've been fortunate to go to college and get, a couple degrees and that type of thing. But my biggest asset is my heart. Is my heart for people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they talk about IQ and EQ.
Yeah.
EQ is such a significant thing that people don't home in on,
Yeah.
uh, because everybody wants to know how intelligent you are, but really I want to know how you treat others, how you value others.
Wow.
I mean, that's more important than IQ.
Yeah. And I this probably doesn't sound the best, but I'm gonna say it anyway, because having deemed myself a lifelong learner, I have truly learned what the whole premise of educated fools are. So education,
Yes. See,
education ain't just always getting it right.
you see it every day. You just turn on CNN.
Right, right. So, I want to talk about the greatest challenges you've had in your role in your career, and just about maybe what the greatest challenges you've had in terms of just getting here where you are. We will talk about that when we come back from break. We'll be right back on 94.7 FM. I am still here with Mr. Joe Jordan. And when we left, I was asking you about your challenges. Tell me what kind of things that you endure or were the things that were more challenging for you in your role, in your career, and just trying to get to where you are. Because, especially when I think about the society in which we live, you're a man, a Black man,
Yes.
you know,
Well, yeah. I mean, just being who I am, it presents challenges, right? As an African
absolutely.
man in the Midwest, for that matter, anywhere in the United States, but certainly it presents certain challenges. So I don't allow the challenges to overtake me. I
Mhm.
look forward to those challenges because I'm a very competitive person. And so if you label me a certain way and I just ask you to watch and then give me an opportunity to, to show you who I am. And
Yeah.
so I don't allow it to stunt my growth or stunt my ability to grow. I actually look at it as a positive because again, if you're competitive, somebody's challenging you, your game go up another notch. And so
Yeah.
that's how I look at it. It's just I don't run from challenges. I kind of at this point in my career, I kind of enjoy them.
Hmm.
So what I've learned to do too is um, my brother Charles it's kind of like my life coach.
Hmm.
He told me something a long time ago. He said, you got to get along with everybody. You got to be able to sit at the table with people that really don't like you because you're dark skinned or you're tall or you're ugly, whatever. They don't like you for some reason. So you still have to do business with people. And he says, one thing you have to do is make sure that you don't personalize sin. And then he said, you can't personalize sin and you got to take the sin from the center. So that way you
Hmm.
keep your spirit free, right? If a person's sinning against you, don't personalize it. And then take that sin from the person who's sinning against you. So you can really work together and keep your spirit free so you can, perform at a high level. And so
Yeah.
that's what I try to keep in mind as I deal with people, different types of people all the time. I just don't personalize it. I stay focused on my objectives and goals.
Hmm. Yeah, I had a friend tell me, and by the way, tell Charles that's called growth. You know, I had a friend tell me once, the scripture, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principality. And she was like, you have to say, hey, that's Joe you're looking at, but it's not necessarily Joe that you're dealing with, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it takes growth and it takes a lot of intentional thinking. Um, one of the things that I've learned in working with at-risk youth is that many of them um, live in that fight or flight, that constant fight or flight mode and mindset, right? Because they're always trying to survive. Um, and although I work with these youth, and although I feel like in some ways I relate to some of the things, right? I
Hmm.
didn't live in that mindset. And I'm just going to make the assumption that you didn't, because you talk about the loving family
Hmm.
that you had. So, you know, how do you relate to some of the things that you didn't necessarily and deal with as a child? And are you received by them? Because you have to meet them where they are. You have to be able to meet them where they are, right? And are you received by them? And what do you think made you move in that direction? Although you didn't have to deal with some of the things that they do.
I think about that a lot because out of 10 children, none of us got in trouble. None of us been incarcerated. None of us do drugs. We all are
Wow.
productive people. And we've come from the same area that people would say. I recall a lot of even our older relevant cousins and aunts used to say those boys are going to be nothing but trouble because
Yeah.
which we were growing up, right? We grew up in a very, very impoverished area, in 7 boys. I mean, it was chaos a lot. But I think about what contributed to our growth and our productivity, and it really was about um, love for each other and support. It wasn't about finances. It was about a sense of support systems that we all felt, right? From our church, from our family, from our extended families, from our athletic careers. We had this support system, right? And then mom and dad did a great job of helping us understand who we are. And so no matter what we wore on our backs, no matter what we got teased because we didn't have the latest gym shoes, but it didn't bother us because we understood our connectivity to a higher being, which our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So nobody could tell us who we were because we already knew who we were. And so our self-value and self-worth was not dependent on some external source. It was always the source of God, right, in our hearts and spirit. And so we I think that's the greatest gift you can give anybody, particularly a kid, is
Hmm.
help them understand who they are and who they belong to, so
Yeah.
they can feel good about who they are. And so I think back a lot on that. And so even though I didn't have the mindset of fight or flight, but I knew why I didn't have that mindset. And so I try to give that to our children. I try to build a support system for them. I try to help them understand who they are so they can have high self concept, high value, and high self worth, so they can feel good about themselves.
Hmm. What do you tell them? What do you tell the child that looks at you now, right? And that may, I'm sure some of them will say, "Oh, he doesn't get it,"
Yeah.
and then there are others that probably think that maybe know a little bit about your story and that you were poor, you were one of the have-nots, and look at you now. You know,
Yeah.
it's it's
So I
it's
tell my
amazing
story
that
all the
some
time.
of them you can just live your life and it's an example enough, and there are others that you have to draw them in and prove your point.
I do, but I love telling my story because I don't want people to see me and not understand how I got here. My
Yeah,
journey is just as significant as my destination,
yeah.
right? So we got to tell our journey. We got to embrace our journey. A lot of people don't like talking about their background because they start from humble beginnings, but I believe God put us in a position to share that. He didn't put us here to just walk around like we're special. He put
Mhm.
us here so we can tell other how to get here, and let them know that this journey wasn't always smooth.
Mhm.
And so, and if I could do it, they certainly can do it, because there's nothing special about Joe Jordan, just hard work, and I'm a compassionate, passionate person. um,
Yeah.
and so I tell my story all the time, so all my kids know my story because I
Mhm.
make sure I tell
Yeah. So you and I had a conversation, and I thought I said something really profound, right? I was like, I
them.
remember when I was in the classroom and I was like, kids need the three E's. They need economics, they need money, they need, eat, they need to eat,
Yeah,
and they need exposure.
yeah,
And you said it's not about the economics.
that's
Talk
right.
about that a little bit. You
It's
just tore
just
me down. You just tore me all the way down.
no. I get your point though. At some
No,
point,
I'm just being silly. I really appreciate it. It's really profound.
I think it's really about that support system, and feeling the self worth that you need to move forward. Because if you feel good about yourself, you're gonna make good decisions, and you're gonna become economically independent because you feel good about yourself. You love yourself enough to make good, solid decisions.
Mhm.
Uh, and so that's why I say the economics will come along if
Mhm.
you have high self worth and high self concept of yourself, so you can make good decisions for your life. In the support system that you need, because we all need support systems. Even today,
Yeah.
we need support systems, and so creating support systems and helping children understand their value is really key to me.
Mhm.
Because I'm one of them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
our family broke the cycle of poverty,
Mhm.
because of it, and now we all are living a decent life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I meant by it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. So what do you say? You had a really supportive family. You had people around you that were very supportive, and you still do to this day. You know, what do you say to the child, to the young man or the young woman that don't have family members that are supportive? What
Well,
do you say to them?
I say them all the time that it's really not about the blood relationship. It's about relationship, right? So leaders give first, right? So if you give love, trust me, love's coming back to you. And if you be a person of compassion, it's coming back to you. I'm a witness. I'm old enough to see that when I gave it, it came back twofold. And I'm telling you, it really wasn't about my academic career. It was about my relationships. And so I tell kids all the time, build relationships. Build relationships wherever you go. Build relationships. Don't miss an opportunity to build a relationship with someone. My brother Charles again told me a long time ago. I was coming home from school, and I walked in the house. I think I was in the eighth grade, and I was mad about something. Don't even remember. He said, Joe, come here and let me talk to you. He says, how was your meetings today? I said, what are you talking about, meetings? He said, how were your meetings? I said, man, I don't have any meetings. I'm in the eighth grade. I don't have meetings. He said, oh, yeah, you had a meeting today. Let me tell you the meetings. You had a meeting with your brother when you woke up. You had a meeting with dad when you woke up. You had a meeting at the bus stop with your classmates. You had a meeting with the bus driver. You had a meeting with the person that's sitting next to you on the bus. You had a meeting with the teacher. You had a meeting with this. And I didn't get it at first, but he was saying to me, make sure all your meetings are successful, whether they're 5-minute meetings, whether they're 30-second meetings, make sure they're successful. And I started adapting that probably around 11th grade. And what happened is my life turned around because people were looking for opportunities to do something for me, show me favor,
Wow.
show me love, because I was giving it. I was intentionally thinking about meetings every day. Even when I go into a gas station today and I see the clerk behind the counter, that's a meeting.
That's a meeting.
That's a meeting. And so how do you make sure those meetings are successful? And so I've adapted that to my life, and I'm telling you, that is what's propelled me through my professional career, is those meetings.
Wow. Um, how do you find your work-life balance?
I I have a very supportive fiance. She
Mhm.
is amazingly supportive of the work that I do. Um, I don't look at um, the work that I do as a job. It's just part of who I am. So I don't have like a 9 to 5 timetable. It's just what I do. It's just who I am anyway, right? So the work that I do in the community along with the Boys and Girls Club is just a natural fit for me. So I really, if someone outside looking at my life, they'll say I have a problem with work-life balance if they didn't know who I was, but once they know who I was, they would say, okay, that's just Joe. I mean, he doesn't look at it as a job, it's just a ministry to him. So, true definition of life work balance, I probably failed at it, but certainly, but it's part of what I do, and I've enjoyed it, and I probably would do it if I didn't get paid for it anyway.
Mhm. Let's talk about your organization and how you've been able to add a sense of diversity to the organization, because I know that that's a very important component to doing this work.
Extremely important. Unfortunately, a lot of our kids that I serve don't have a lot of positive role models, as far as particularly male role models. So it's extremely important that we hire strong, strong male, minority males to be in the club around those kids, be a relationship with those kids, and not only males but females too. Females doesn't have a lot of positive role models too. So diversity is very important to me. Um, Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Indiana is extremely diverse. I would say probably 50-50 as far as minorities in the workplace. And it's very important to me. So I'm very conscious of that, putting our kids around people that look like them, and so they can build strong relationships with people.
So I know you have, I don't know if it would be an advisory board or whatever. Do you have diversity at the top?
We do. We just recreated our advisory board, our board in general, but there's advisory boards, governing boards. All of them are really, really diverse. It's extremely important that they are, because again, we're serving a population. We want people at the top who's making decisions to have some experience in what
And
our population.
understanding, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, let's go back again to the younger Joe. What will you say to him now? What would you say to him? You didn't just go back there and you don't see Charles or the people that were giving you all of the and pouring into you. What would you tell him?
I would tell him to
Hmm.
value time better. I look back on my life, I wasted a lot of energy and time on stuff that had no return.
Yeah.
Um, I think that was probably the biggest thing. Um, and I would say, um, listen more, right? Be a sponge, because I believe God guides our footsteps, and He put things in our lives to help us grow and for the next opportunity. Sometimes we miss it, and so our growth doesn't happen as quickly as it should. But he's so kind that he continues to put them in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Continues.
Yeah.
But I wish I would have probably listened more and have this have a more of a growth mindset than I had when I was younger. Because I think I missed a lot.
Hmm.
I missed a lot of opportunities that God put in front of me. So I would say probably just waste of time and different mindset, have a growth mindset.
Hmm. Do you, if so, you feel like if you could go back and do it all over again, you would be even far more successful than what you are now?
Um,
Would you be doing
no,
something different?
I don't think I would, and that's why I say I think I would never change my life, no matter what. Even though I think those those difficult times, those times, even when I wasn't paying attention or wasting time, I think it helped me become who I am. So I probably wouldn't change anything. I've lived a blessed life, and I don't measure my success on economics. I measure my
Yeah.
success on impact.
Hmm.
Am I making an impact? Am I making the world better? Uh, and I want my legacy to be about service. And so, and I've been I've been doing that for the last 35 years. Is service work, and so probably wouldn't change it. I just wished I would have. I think I can be more effective if
Hmm.
I was earlier, if I listened earlier,
Hmm.
grab some things, and stop wasting time on nonsense. I
Yeah.
think I'm effective.
So how much of who you are in your career spills over into just Joe the man and personal life, how you think, what you do, how you handle, uh when I say personal relationships, I mean family, fiance, just when you're out of the suit and tie, how much of who you are in this role spills over into the other life.
I would think that probably a better question for my fiance, but I would think that I am the same person either, either way. I
Yeah.
think I'm. I think my passion has met
Hmm.
my profession, right? And
Hmm.
so I think God has anointed me to be doing what I'm doing
Hmm.
because it's so natural for me.
Hmm.
People ask me all the time, how do you get these relationships with these incredible human beings? And I say, I don't know. I don't know how I do it. I don't have a plan or strategic, things that I do. I just be Joe, and they happen, right? And so,
Yeah, we talked about that before, because like some people just have it, if it's a such thing as an it factor, when it comes to that, you have that. And that's why I wondered how much of this spills over into your personal life and how you are connected with people.
yeah, I think it does. I think it does. I know sometimes, when you're in the tie and suit, and your mindset is at that professional level. Then when you come home, you still, people are pulling at you all day, right?
Yeah.
And when you come home, you have this mindset of relaxation, and
Okay.
so you tone it down a little bit, but it doesn't. The core of who I am is still there,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a time period where you say, okay, let me rejuvenate me so I can go back out and do it again. And
Yeah.
so it may look different, but the core is still there because I love people. I love people. I value people. I look for opportunities to build strong relationships with people, and I look for opportunities to grow people. And I hope they grow me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just who I am.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more when we come back from break. We'll be right back on 94.7 FM. And we're back on 94.7 FM. I am here with Mr. Joe Jordan, who is the CEO. He has not said that during this interview. He is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Fortwayne, Indiana. You were named the CEO of the year in the state of Indiana for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and the Midwest Region CEO of the year for Midwest Region for Boys and Girls Club of America. What sacrifices came with those honors? Those are huge honors.
Yeah, really honored and humbled by this recognition. But I always consider it a team award. You don't build an organization and you don't make impacts as we did without an incredible team. So even though my name's on that award, it's really a tribute to the organization. But certainly, there's always sacrifices when you achieve things, and I guess I don't call them sacrifices. I just call them things that I had to do to make an impact. And so we have a philosophy that whatever it takes to build kids, to build community, that's what we're going to do. And so when you have an attitude and a mindset of whatever it takes, you don't look at it as obstacles or challenges. You just look at what you had to do to get to a point to make an impact. And that's not just Joe Jordan. That's an incredible team that God has allowed me to assemble at the Boys and Girls Club.
How long have you been doing this work there?
I've been at the Boys and Girls Club 13 years. 13
Wow.
years. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the types of, I know that you and your team are into um, the wraparound approach in terms of how you serve your children. Talk about it and some of the things that you do, because I see a lot of your social media posts and things that are available. So just talk about that for a minute.
Well, I just think it's important. You know, the things that we do well at Boys and Girls Clubs is really build strong relationships with kid and family. But the kid needs more than just a strong relationship to be successful or reach their full potential. So our job is to make sure that we galvanize resources outside of the club, bring those resources into the club to help our children become successful. So you'll see, if you were at the club on a daily basis, you would see incredible partnerships coming in and out of the door, whether it's teachers, academics, STEAM professionals, whether it's even Planet Fitness for the physicality
Mhm,
approach. And so we've got incredible partnerships that we bring into the club to help these kids become really exposed, have the resources they need to compete when they get out into the real world. And so that's our philosophy. We're all about collaborations and partnerships. We extended programs to kids during the day. We have mental health facilities coming in and out of the club as well. I mean, our kids need us more now than ever before because of the pandemic and because of the social justice issues, because of the way our world is wired right now. Our
yeah.
kids need us. And so it's our job to make sure that we recognize those needs, whether they may look different tomorrow than they do today, but we have to have our pulse on those needs so we can adjust and pivot to make sure that these kids have what they need.
Mhm. One of the things you mentioned the pandemic, and one of the things that has really stuck out to me is like um, the Boys and Girls Club, just just schools, just public schools, right? These places are many times safe havens for our children because the trauma is happening in the home.
Yes.
And how have you guys been able to address I heard you speak of mental health resources. So, the trauma informed care for them. How have you been able to address that?
Yeah, so we were very fortunate a couple of years ago to hire a therapist on staff to help us deal with some of those kids that have these trauma issues. We started a program to deal with children with behavior issues, mental, physical, emotional behavior issues. We wanted to be a resource for those kids too. And so what has happened with Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Indiana, we become a more they're looking at us like a mental health service now, as well
Mhm,
as a Boys and
mhm,
Girls Club,
mhm.
because of the
That's
programs
awesome.
that we started. Yeah, I'm excited about being in that space because our
Mhm,
mission is about those kids who need us most. And
mhm,
so we're moved into that space, and we're excited about being there. We have a strong relationship with the school systems. We have additional programming to help kids recover from the credits so they can make sure they're on target to graduate. We're serving anywhere from 50 to 75 kids in that program
mm,
already. We're
mhm,
going to grow that this summer. So we're excited about the space we're in, and we want to be solution driven. Uh,
mhm, mhm.
we want to make sure our community understands that we are the Boys and Girls Club, but we are here to help with some solutions in the community that relates to kids and families.
Well, that's awesome because I feel like, the families are the experts, right? In terms of what's going on with them.
Yes.
But but then at the same time, I feel like from a wraparound perspective, as we serve these populations, the community needs to be at the core of
Yes.
of what happens, and those are those agencies, those are the children, those are, they need a voice. We have the families, they need a voice. Everybody, comes to the table together. So
Yeah, and sometimes our families are left out of that equation because
yeah.
they just either don't know where the resources are, or
Hmm.
the resources don't know where they are.
Where they are, very good point. Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we connect our families to all these credible resources out in our community. So we do a lot of that. We
Hmm.
build relationship with other entities to make sure that our kids are being seen and being cared for.
Hmm. Speak a little bit about, some of the challenges that the youth you serve face. What types of things do you see?
I just, I've seen a lot of kids who just feel like they're not valued. They're
Hmm.
they're invisible. Um, there's no one there for them. No one's really understanding their plight. Um, the whole social justice things that they're seeing around the country has impacted their mental psyche. Um, the whole career pathway thing. I mean, a lot of these kids are not going to be able to go to college, right? So what do I do with my life? How do I make a living? I can't flip burgers and
Hmm.
make a living.
Hmm.
So just the uncertainty in the fear that they have moving forward towards adulthood is real. It's real, and so we've got to create pathways for kids. We got to
Hmm.
make sure they're exposed to different opportunities.
Hmm.
We have a strong skilled trades program that we have at the Boys and Girls Club. We're developing a real strong workforce development program that we're going to launch next school year, just to expose children to different pathways. Um, and so they're afraid. There's a lot of uncertainty. They are definitely feeling unvalued,
Hmm.
uh, being not having a voice, and so we've got to create those ways, pathways. We got to also create a way that that their voice will be heard. So that's really what I see now with the current landscape of our country.
Hmm. Um, I talked earlier before you came in the introduction about the vocation and the vocational skills for the children that don't choose the path of post-secondary path. And people are living some really great lives,
Exactly.
having a skill. I'm not that person, that could do it,
Right.
but they're living some
Right.
really great lives. And I just don't want us to belittle that path for our youth. I think so many times we stress, because particularly our people, Black people, were not given an opportunity for education, at
Right.
one point in time. And so I think that's, my grandmother's thing was, she wanted me to become a school teacher. Like that's what she wanted me to do. She did it. She wanted me to do it. Right.
Sure.
I became a teacher. I started moving up really fast. And as she got older and she had the dementia had started and the Alzheimer's and stuff, and I'd go and tell her, I'd be so excited to tell her about my accomplishments and what I'd done. And, I moved up in administration and she's like, oh, so you're not teaching anymore? I just teaching. She wanted me to stick with that, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
move up and she wanted me to stick with that. And I just think, yeah, education is important. I mean, I think more so than education, knowledge, right? Knowledge
That's correct.
is important. But there's nothing in the world wrong
Excuse me.
with a vocation. Nothing at all.
Yeah, one of my best friends is a plumber, and
I
he's
was
great.
thinking about plumbers.
Yeah, we I need one right now actually. But
Uh-huh.
he's put three kids to college. He lives a great life, and he became an entrepreneur. He has his own business, a plumbing business,
Hmm.
and so well, that's exactly what we're doing at the Boys and Girls Club. We're exposing them to skilled trades. and so many kids are just so interested in it, like instantaneously. They've
Mhm,
never been exposed to any of the skill trades,
mhm,
and now they are. And so we think we got some kids that's really trying to go down that pathway.
mhm.
It's so important that we introduce our kids to that.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, it's often said, at the point before I go there, just to extend what we were saying, this is how we meet kids where they are, right? This is how, and when you give them a voice, when you actually give them a voice in the process,
yes,
this is how we better serve them to ensure that they're going to be moving in the right direction. Because if I could change anything about my life, it would be that I from the jump made sure that I did something that every day when I go to bed at night and when I wake up in the morning, I'm excited to wake up and do what I do, right? I've
yes,
done some things, I've had some jobs, that just paid the bills, but
yeah.
I was miserable going,
Mhm.
you know? And so I think that's one of the important things. And so I remember the line in the movie Sister Act when Whoopi Goldberg was saying, if you go to bed at night waking, thinking about singing, if you wake up in the morning thinking about singing, you want to be a singer.
Yes, you do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. You have to really find your passion,
Hmm.
and so you have to find what I call have to find yourself, and then once you find yourself, you have to lose yourself. So
Mm.
find your passion, and
Hmm.
then lose yourself in the passion. So
Wow.
that's your anointment, right? And
Hmm.
some people got to really figure out what their passion is,
Yeah.
and how you figure that out. What comes natural to you? What
Yeah.
would you do it without even getting paid for? Once
Yes.
you figure that out, man, things change. Your
Yes.
focus, your life.
Yeah. And that's what I think one of our primary goals has to be with our children is that guidance, that type of guidance, you know. Um, and I really tried hard with my children, my own children too, as they were growing up to look at them and say, oh, I see she really loves this, or I see he really loves that, right? And try to develop and keep them in that space where, yeah, I really tried hard with that.
Well, that's good for you because that's I have a 26-year-old son, and I thought I knew what's best for him, and I
Mhm,
had him going down this pathway that I thought was best. But he was kind of a artsy person.
mhm,
He had a different mindset than I. He was really kind
mhm,
of work hard, do these things, and you'll get the opportunity to do this.
mhm.
But he had a different mindset, and so
Mine
uh,
too.
yeah,
I mean,
that was
I think that's a parent-child thing. The things that you try to
yeah.
get, I don't think that's anything unique to like your situation. I just think it's a really normal parent-child thing.
Yeah, yeah. But I've learned quickly that after consultation with my older brothers, who they say, hey, let that go. Allow him to be who he is.
Yeah.
Great human being. He's awesome person.
That's
And
another thing I would change if I could go back. I would take my hands off much quicker.
yeah,
I
it's
cut
that's
that
tough
cord
to do,
much quicker.
right?
Uh-huh.
It's tough to do, but because he's my only child, and I
Yeah.
again, but once I did, we have a great relationship. Once I took my hands off and allow him to naturally be who he is,
Yeah.
it became an amazing relationship.
So it's often said it takes a village. Like, who's the village?
For me, I have an incredible family. My siblings are amazing mentors of mine. I have some corporate professional mentors that God blessed me with, people that came into my life that just I don't know how it happened, but we grew to love each other, and they
Hmm.
always looked out for my best interests.
Hmm.
I have a great support system at home through my
Hmm.
fiance. She's
Hmm.
amazing. She just motivates me and inspires me in ways in which
Yeah.
count. So God has been good to me. I have incredible people around me that that helps support me. when I ask for advice, they give it to me, and not just what I want to hear, but the things I need to hear.
Yeah.
As I, so I've been really blessed. I have a really good friend that we do work together in the community around, inclusion and diversity and implicit bias training. Him and I become really, 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 really close,
Oh,
and so I consider him someone that's right in my support system as well. So I've been really blessed. I have an incredible support system, and I think we all can get there if we wanted to, because it's, again, it goes back to what you're giving out. What
mm-hmm.
you're giving out. If you're leading with love, love is coming. Love is coming back to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's undisputable. What you give out is gonna come back to you.
Mm-hmm. So with the children, it'd be their village would be whatever it is they need.
Yes, exactly. My thing with children, as long as they know they have a support system, and unfortunately, a lot of our kids don't know that, and
Mm.
that's what the Boys and Girls Club is truly about. Is
Yeah.
a support system for these kids,
Mm-hmm.
uh, not judging them, not trying to always tell them what to do, but just being there for them, knowing that these group of people are here for you. Is important to all of us as human beings, but certainly more important for kids.
Is funding ever a challenge for an
We
organization like the Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, I mean, funding is always a priority. We need funding to support our mission,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe if you do the work and you do it at a high level, the
Mm-hmm.
funding will come. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been there for 13 years, and every year we've increased our fundraising activities. We've increased our revenue. We've
Mm-hmm.
increased our program growth, our
Mm-hmm.
expansion. I mean, it's just been an amazing growth period over
Mm-hmm.
the last 13 years. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, because we're producing a good product.
Yeah.
We're moving the needle for our kids.
Yeah. What's next for Joe Jordan?
I it's interesting that you asked me that, because there's plenty of opportunities, but I'm not sure if that's the direction I want to go. I I know that I've been at the club for 13 years, so it's probably next year or two. It's
Yeah.
probably need new leadership, because I'm never going to get in the way of growth of the club. But certainly, I don't really know. I know that for sure that it has to be something about serving people, and
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. So I really don't know. I just pay attention to what God has me to do, and I'm sure God will have me where He wants me in the next couple years.
Yeah. I cannot thank you enough for just taking a moment to share with me today. And I really hope that you'll come back again
Yeah,
in the
for
near
sure.
future and talk to me again, and we can extend this conversation. How about that?
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you as well. And yeah, I'll be happy to come back.
Absolutely. And a very hearty thank you to you guys for coming back to share with me again another Saturday. I look so forward to seeing you guys here each week, right here at the same time on the Gospel Giant 94.7 FM. I will see you next Saturday. Have a great one.